Chief Manley, do you think this would be a cost to the Austin PD to implement this bill?
It would be a cost in that the cooperation we might be called upon to give to federal authorities, again, is going to pull my officers away from what I believe are their more important duties of combating crime. So I will need more officers just to keep the city safe.
Can you get this committee some cost estimates?
Not standing here before you today, but
no, but you have time. But if you could get us some cost estimates, it would be helpful. Yeah. Because once again, I do not believe that local jurisdiction should have to foot the bill. This should be something that's borne by the state if it's going to be done.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman, and I will have my team and I will work on that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regards to looking at costs, I'm assuming your average interrogation stop time is going to increase as well if you have to start asking these other questions and doing these other things. So that means you're going to be incurring costs by either needing more officers out there on the streets to deal with the crimes that you're not going to be able to deal with, or if you're not going to have more officers, you're going to be looking at less crimes being looked into, because every time you have a stop and you're going to have to make these inquiries and do these things and go through all this and maybe look at documentation.
Mr. Chairman, there's nothing in the bill that requires that. Nothing in the bill that requires them to do that.
I beg to differ with you, because once they've made the arrest, don't just have a detainer bill. You're putting a duty on them to make inquiries.
No, sir. What we were doing is we were saying that we cannot have a policy to prevent them from doing that.
Okay, but if they are required to do this, as most chiefs are going to interpret this, the legislature may put may in there and not put shall, but if your police chief is looking at a Class A misdemeanor and fines, and your sheriff is looking at a Class A misdemeanor and fines, how is it going to be determined? You all are going to have to do this.
With the language in the bill and with what would come through our legal advice, yes, there's a strong likelihood that we will require officers to make the inquiries if that's how the bill comes out. Again, it's going to depend on the final language, but I agree with your sentiment that police chiefs and sheriffs are going to rely on their legal advisors to tell them how best to interpret that to ensure that we are compliant with the intent of whatever bill may be passed.